Welcome back to Think Design Work Smart. I'm Alex Bolboaca and I'm coming at you from the Mozaic Works studios. And what I have for you today is something a little bit different from what we usually do. We usually discuss technology and software development. But today I will talk about something that touches on technology, but it's more about people and more about working in technology. I like to talk about dealing with uncertainty. And one of the reasons for that, normally I don't talk about the things that are happening around me and my own worries and so on. But this time, maybe you've watched the news, and if you haven't, the situation in Romania has gotten a little bit chaotic after the latest presidential elections, and we are now in an area of uncertainty. And this is why this video is also for me as much as it is for you who are watching it, because I feel the need to remind myself some of the things I've learned about dealing with uncertainty. Now, that's all I want to say about everything that's happening around me. Let's focus now on technology and on technology organizations. I learned these things because as an agile coach, or as a coach part of a transformation, I've been part of multiple types of transformations, not only agile. And as part of a transformation, one of my goals, one of my responsibilities is to identify the areas of uncertainty for people and to help them move over uncertainty. Because whenever you change things, there's a chance, it's actually a given that you will have certain questions, certain things that you are uncertain about. And some of them are obvious, like you can express them, but some of them are not obvious and are hidden underneath. It's just a feeling, it's just something that you feel is not quite right. So, what to do in the case of uncertainty? And there are a few things that you need to do. First of all, is to find your area of control. Even in the most uncertain times, there are things that you can control versus things that are outside your control. And honestly, all life is like this, right? You always have an area of control, but there are a lot of things that you cannot control. So it's useful to focus on the things that you can control rather than on the things that you don't. And one thing where you can start is from yourself. So imagine, for example, you go to the office and you find out that you're being fired. Right? What is still your area of control? Where, first of all, it's how you react to this. What you negotiate, maybe, if you can. Then, let's say the deal is set and you leave. The next thing that is under your control and that you still have is what you know, what you can do, who you are, right? These are things that are still under your control. And then you can move forward, you can expand this a little bit. Now, this is important because facing uncertainty, you need to find some solid ground. You need to find something to stay on. And The reason is you need to calm yourself. The worst thing you can do is to react emotionally in these situations. Instead, it's best to find your ground, figure out what are the things that you can control. And this reminds you that you are on a solid ground. You have something you can stand up on. And then you can calm yourself and start using the parts of your brain that don't work that well when you are overwhelmed by emotions, particularly by negative emotions. It's also really hard to deal with negative emotions because we are prone to those emotions more than we are prone to positive ones. They can affect us much more. That's part of the evolutionary status, because of course you want to run away from a danger, right? Only nowadays we have much fewer dangers, and the brain still reacts in the same way, like it's a tiger attacking you in the case when it's not that bad, you know. So that's why you need to find this area of control. One thing that can help here is to turn yourself to the present, to what's present now, and because this reduces anxiety. This is a technique that I've learned from the psychology of trauma, but it applies really well to calm yourself in various situations when uncertainty hits you. And one of the way to deal with this is to look around you and name in your mind 3 things that you see, 3 things that you smell, 3 things that you hear, 3 things that you that you see, that you touch. Okay, using your senses like this grounds you in now, and that is very important, because how does anxiety works? Anxiety works because you imagine what will happen, all kind of possible futures, and in the case of uncertainty, you don't know what the futures are, so you can get very quickly into imagining tens of negative futures, and each of those will just feed into your anxiety. So instead of doing that, what you can do is to ground yourself in now, because if you ground yourself now, then you know that your brain starts relaxing, and it allows you to calm yourself and to think about what's next in a more logical, calm, methodical manner. Now, another technique that I've learned, and that comes after this, once you found your area of control, the thing that you can influence. There are actually 2 things: things that you can control, things that you can influence. And then it's things that are outside these areas. The next thing you can do is something that I've learned from astronauts. In case of emergency, what they do, instead of trying to figure out everything that's going wrong and fixing everything at the same time, and thus failing, because sometimes you cannot do that, what you do is you focus on what will kill you next, or what is likely to kill you next. And you just pick that one thing, focus on that, solve it, move to the next one, and so on. And this allows you to be much more structured in your approach, And it gives you this kind of sharp focus, allows you to figure out what to do really quickly. So for example, if we continue this, you are getting fired. Okay, first thing you do, figure out what your area of control, what are the things that I still have. I am here, I am now, and these are the things that I still have, that I still know how to do, that I still know. Okay. And now once you've calmed yourself, the next question is not necessarily, okay, in this situation, we are not on a spaceship. Things are not trying to kill us. So we are not really going to think about what is going to kill us next, but rather on more metaphorically speaking, like what's the first challenge that we have? Do you have money for rent, for the next rent? For how many rents? How long can you live, with the money that you have, and so on. So there are a bunch of things there. And then the next thing, once you figure out the focus, which is the goal, it's important to work in small batches, inspect and adapt. There's a reason why Agile and Scrum works like that. And the reason is they were meant to be used in areas of uncertainty. And extreme programming even more. Extreme programming is about teams that work in extreme uncertainty. So if you don't know exactly what will happen tomorrow or in 2 days or in 10 days, one thing you can do is to do something today, a small batch, but something that progresses you, that advances you towards the goal that you know today. And then once you finish that, you look at it and you say, okay, where are we once again? Let's think about where we are and where we need to go. And I think one important thing to mention here is the psychological phenomenon called anchoring. We tend to anchor, which is if we've done something for a while, we tend to kind of continue doing the same thing. If we have some ideas for a while, we tend to continue having the same ideas. However, in the case of uncertainty, you may need to rethink these things. And this is typically a painful process for your brain. Your brain will tend to fight you on this unless you train yourself. And so one thing that's very, very important and that I learned when working in strategy is to always look at, again, here and now. Forget about what you invested until then. Forget about what your plans were and so on. They are no longer there. Just look at what it is today. What are the factors today? And this is the only way to avoid anchoring. A common type of anchoring is when you have invested some time, some money into something, and you just keep paying those time or money, even though it gets more and more obvious that you're either losing or not progressing that much. So in that case, it's useful to look at, okay, today, where are we? It doesn't matter how much I've invested, because I may need to cut my losses and say, okay, what I've done until now, it's been a waste. Usually it's not a complete waste because you've learned something, so that's a plus. But you may have lost some money, you may have lost some time. You need to look at where you are exactly, and cutting your losses is a decision that you can make. And it's important to make this decision as early as possible, right? Because otherwise it will just move on, you'll waste some more money, some more time. It's not that great. Now, of course, what helps in these situations is to prepare for uncertainty. And in my case, for example, I've lived with, ever since I was a junior developer, I always thought, okay, what if we get AI that takes our jobs? What if we get new technologies or new approaches? Or what can I do? What are things that I can do outside of being a software developer? And because of this, I have developed other skills. I can speak in public, and it wasn't easy. It was pretty difficult to start for me. But now I've been invited to do some keynotes, so maybe I can do this. I know how to write. And by the way, I'll have an announcement about this in a few weeks. I know how to cook, right? So I can survive for a while with minimum resource, with less resources. I know I can work with people. I can, there are a bunch of stuff that I can do. I've took on woodworking a little bit. I'm not great at it for now, but it's something that I can learn because it's basically geometry in 3 dimensions, and I really love geometry, and it's cool. So it's useful, and even for programming, I didn't stay on one technology. I didn't say I'm a Java developer or a C++ or... No, I've expanded my horizon. I've tried different technologies and so on. And this means that, okay, maybe I will not be prepared immediately to go to another type of job than what I'm doing today. But I have a strong foundation, and I know that I can learn. I know that I can get very quickly up to par with what I need to know, what I need to do. And besides this, a strong background. I've read philosophy and listened to philosophy. I listened to logic and all kinds of different things, physics and so on, sciences. I try to understand various things, which allows me to adapt in case there's any need for that. So, yeah, this is how you deal with it. It helps to have a plan, and the plan is to develop skills that are varied and that you can use later on to build upon if you need to. But if you find today, in an uncertain situation, these are the things that are the most important. Find your area of control and focus on the present, focus on today. Look at what's likely to kill you next. So the next important goal, work in small batches, inspect and adapt, and avoid anchoring. Because it's really important to be able to adjust as quickly as possible. Okay, with this being said, I hope this is useful. I will leave a link to an article from a psychology journal that talks a little bit about this in the description. So if you want to learn a little bit more, please follow that link. And yeah, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments if this is useful. Thank you kindly for the view. And until next time, remember to think, design, and work smart. See you next Saturday.